Turning to an expert on flipping witnesses, Andrew Weissmann is a veteran of the Mueller probe. He won the conviction against Manafort. He ran the Enron task force. He ran the fraud section of DOJ. And not to embarrass you with further history, but you are known for your skill and alleged toughness. Take a look.
Today, the Enron task force's continuing investigation has led to the unsealing of 3 new criminal indictments.
Andrew Weissmann, who is the head of our Enron task force, he and his brilliant team were in Houston today, where their hard work continues.
He has chosen his Jack the Ripper-like leader, Andrew Weissmann.
Andrew, thanks for joining us for this conversation.
Nice to be here.
I appreciate it. Given your expertise, when you look at an individual like Mr. Weisselberg with the history laid out, do you see him as flippable or less likely to be flipped?
Well, I think in a situation like this where the former president does not have the ability to dangle pardons, I think it's hard to say anyone is not flippable. The way you do it is through hard work, which is if there is a criminal case to be made, you make the strongest possible criminal case. I do think that this is a situation where if there is a criminal matter with respect to Alan Weisselberg, it looks like the Manhattan DA's office and the New York Attorney General's office are certainly pouring a lot of resources into uncovering it. So it's hard to imagine that he's going to slip away, as he may have done in the past. So one thing I would note is,
what is it?
With respect to his alleged cooperation in the Southern District of New York and going into the grand jury and potentially providing evidence that was used with respect to Michael Cohen, I would say the jury's a little out on that. It's not totally clear whether Alan Weisselberg provided anything meaningful or whether he was asked about anything beyond Michael Cohen. So, I think he's in a very different trick box now where he really is going to be facing
can I push you on that?
Of going to jail or not. Yeah.
I'm very curious what you can teach us about that, because as I mentioned in our report, you have 3 individuals, according to the audio tape, involved in something and other evidence. For the benefit of Donald Trump, Cohen goes to jail. I take your nuance about exactly what it was, but Weisselberg, in cooperating at all, would have to presumably answer questions about what the other 2 men knew and did.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying 2 things. One, it's not clear he was truthful when he testified.
Yeah, I agree.
He may have said something that's not at all helpful. He could have said, I don't recall, for instance, and, and that may be true or not true. And then it's not clear if he was asked about anything more than the specific that you identified, Ari, so that he could have been asked just about that and not about the broader case, which appears to be what the New York prosecutors, both the Attorney General and the Manhattan DA's officer, are looking at. And then the final point, I'd like to throw out one more name, which is Jeff McConney, because I don't think that's gotten enough attention, because last week the reports were that he went into the state grand jury and he is the controller of the Trump organization. So again, all speculation, but clearly you're looking for an insider. That's why there is so much focus on Alan Weisselberg, trying to get somebody who is on the inside who would know where every penny went. Well, that's the controller as well as the CFO. So if Jeff McConney is cooperating, that is really bad news potentially for Weisselberg and for the Trump organization and other individuals, up to and including maybe the former president. In other words, Manhattan may have found their insider, because it would be unusual to put somebody like McConney into the state grand jury where he would be given immunity for, as soon as he testifies automatically, if they didn't think that he had something useful to provide.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And he directly reported into Weisselberg. While you're here, I have the benefit of getting you on the big news day with Don McGahn, former White House counsel. testifying. You worked for Bob Mueller, and McGahn famously was part of the resistance internally to what he said was Donald Trump's potentially unlawful order to try to fire Mueller without cause. He's telling lawmakers, I'm reading here from Judiciary Committee information, that Trump asked him to do, quote, some crazy blank. He was worried that firing Mueller, your boss, was the point of no return. Resignations, things could spiral out of control into a, quote, second Saturday night massacre. Your response?
Well, from my quick read of his quite voluminous testimony, is he appeared to now, under oath, confirm what is in the report, which is that he was asked by the former president of the United States to fire and to seek the firing of Bob Mueller from the Justice Department. That later, the president wanted him to go out and deny a press report that had happened. And Don McGahn testified under oath that he refused to do that. In part, he said he had already told the special counsel's office what had happened, and he wasn't about to, as he said, risk going to jail by denying what he had just told the special counsel, which was what the president asked him to do, and he wasn't about to say that wasn't true. So very dramatic testimony. It did largely repeat what's in the report, but you were hearing it directly from the witness and under oath.
And I'm almost out of time here, but was it good for Donald Trump that he had some lawyers around him who apparently, according to this testimony, just simply refused to carry out what they thought was an unlawful order, and then Trump, on that score, ultimately blinked and backed down?
Yeah, well, Don McGahn was not the only person, but yes, there were people around him who simply refused to do his dirty work. And in many ways, he was saved by people who basically either didn't want to go to jail, which Don McGahn today, in the testimony, said that was one of the things that motivated him, and was willing to resign over it. But you have other people like the former Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, who was refusing to do things as well. So I do think that the former president was helped out by people who appeared to have a lot more of a conscience and duty to the public than the former president was showing.